24th. The days of September 2020 are waning. I'm Pastor Luke Kilgore, pastor here in this building and in this community, the High Mountain Presbyterian Church and its several elements, our ministry through our infant care center and our preschool center, assisting dads and moms and other people in their care for children in our world. The High Mountain Presbyterian Church is involved in ministries that include conditions of life ministries. We raise food for the food pantries, and they're dispersed without strings attached. We raise money for Habitat for Humanity and help to provide low-income cost housing for people trying to make a living. We're involved in sharing the good news of the gospel on a regular basis through preaching, teaching, through singing, through celebrating, all of it, operating out of this little microcosmic community that has connections throughout the world. Welcome to this Pastor's Chat. This chair represents my willingness, my interest in allowing the gospel to not just be some idea, but to be based in relationships. I'm a firm believer that we don't understand the Bible. We really don't understand anything of the Bible unless we see and understand in its pages the interest of the God who created the world, who is above and beyond everything we might think, but who is interested in walking with us, a relationship with us, and invites us to be involved in walking and relating and having relationships with each other. Welcome to the Pastor's Chat. The building that I'm in is the building it is and stays up the way it is because of 1,000 relationships. The relationships between the strength of the beams and the planks of the roof, the nails that hold the shingles in place, and the walls and the buttresses that hold up. These are all relationships. Everything is a relationship, relating to each other. Everything behaving as it's designed to behave, and therefore the roof stays up, the floor stays down. The God who created this world is a God who celebrates billions of different kinds of relationships between inanimate things and animate things, living things in the forest and creatures, trees and cell biology. Everywhere you look in this created order, there are relationships. And relationships are life. And in the wisdom of the ancient people, they saw and understood that one relationship which doesn't work well was this relationship that God hoped would exist between a creature who could willfully relate, who could choose to relate, who could obey, who could hear an intention and then follow it and then make commitments. And the Hebrew Scriptures are full of mutual promises. You know, the buttresses of the ceiling of this building don't make a promise to uphold the planks of the roof. They just do it. They do it. They do it to the best of their ability, and they never fail in that. Now, sometimes an earthquake will come and change the other relationships, but the Scriptures describe that humans' relationship, human beings' place in this vast universe of relationships, defined by gravity and all kinds of massive rules of science and of time. Human beings exist on this planet in a way, in a unique ability to disrupt a living relationship. It's the same way that parents and children have relationships, but those relationships are disrupted. Lack of loyalty or faithfulness, addictive behavior, all kinds of things cause great separation in relationships. In the Greek, the word for that gap, that broken relationship, was a word we translate in English called sin. Sin is a condition more than it is an action. Sin is a condition that results from our actions. Anything that breaks or disrupts relationships vibrantly working is sin. And in this world of relationships, God is active in our lives today, seeking to carry us in a relationship. And that's part of what we are involved in as a congregation, what I do as a pastor. I have conversations and chats with people because the gospel is nothing without some context of real relationships. Broken as they can be, feeble in communication as we are. If relationships don't exist among us, then we have no real basis for understanding the language of relationship to God. So we try to build a community of relationships. Mostly in the past that has been through getting together. We would have dinners together, or we get together in a building to sing hymns and then to talk together afterwards. A big part of our life in building faith and strength in faith is building relationships with others. So we have food and coffee and a time for gathering and getting to know each other, because that's what builds relationships. Relationships are challenged in the time in which we live. Everything that we have known for how to build relationships, whether we do it or whether we don't, mostly is unavailable to us. The gatherings together. Part of what creates a massive frenzy of loyalty and excitement for sports teams is that large groups of people can be together and to feel the strength and the encouragement of others who feel the same way they do, cheering their team on and watching on television as hundreds and thousands of people are watching and also enjoying and strengthening our relationship in some ways in sports teams to people we never will meet. All of that now is broken down. We have teams playing on fields with no spectators. This medium, this technology, which I don't even understand. I do not understand it. Meaning, I don't know how it works. I know how to turn it on, and sometimes I know how to make it come on and know. But I don't know how it works. I don't. When I was a child, I actually remember the very first television. I do. I was born in 1955, and to my recollection, the very first television that was available on our block was in somebody else's house. Somebody got a television. And I remember as a child being filled with wonderment about, are there people in that box? How is that possible? I also remember the first time I saw someone talking on a cell phone. I remember the very first time I saw someone talking on a telephone that did not have a wire connected to it. I was actually in Germany. I was riding on a train in Germany, and it seemed to me that Germany had these, they were huge, by the way. It was a huge, like, walkie-talkie. And it was a telephone. And the person was riding on the train, talking on the telephone without a wire. I wasn't a child then, but I still thought to myself, I don't understand how that's possible. And then we come to this live streaming, as they call it. I don't get how it works, but I'm aware that if we use it in every way that we possibly can, it will and can help us to still build relationships. See, that's the miracle when I say to you, I know you're there, I know you're there. And I know that somehow the one-sided conversation over here is still building a relationship between you and me. In fact, I'm going to say this, and I know you know it's true, that through the use of this medium, you and I have grown closer together. We've grown closer. I know things about you now that I didn't know before, and it gives me the ability to pray for you, to think about you more regularly. How can it be that I'm staring at a camera that's about this tall, that's sitting on the floor in front of me? How can it be that without you present here, and without me present there, this technology is advancing the strength of our relationship to each other? I thank God that it is. I don't understand how it works. It requires, for its most effective part, for me, because you're not talking, you're not doing the side of at least not that I can hear. So you're writing emails to me and you're communicating back to me. Our exchange of letters, if you will, is what helps me to get to know you better. But I know that you have a greater sense of getting to know me, hearing more about how my understanding of God and theology works in the world and what it leads to in terms of my pastoral conversations with you through times of trouble and through times of joy. You know what I pray about. You know how I pray for you. These are things that were not available to you. Miracle. I have a friend who sends me a Bible verse every day. And I started to think that maybe in full service to you that I should share them with you. And it's part of what started me on this conversation about how we persist when we are pressed and knocked down in everything we knew before about how to do what we do. We endure. We endure. We rise above. We come back stronger. We are stronger than we were before. We're better than we were before. In terms of how we strengthen each other in relationship to each other and in our relationship to God. In a time that was very, very difficult in the first century, a person that we count on. Oh, there it is, Mike. Every afternoon yawn. The Apostle Paul, the writer of 2/3 of the New Testament, is describing a difficult time. Government persecution, wars between Christians and Jews, family breakups that were happening in their lives, destroying most of how they knew to relate to each other. He talks about how, in his understanding, the knowledge, knowing that God loved him and that God has a relationship with him and that God is calling him to be in the world relating to others, he calls that a treasure. It's a treasure that he holds in his heart. And then he says this, acknowledging the difficulty and the changes that were required. But, he says, we have this treasure of knowing God's love for us and God's relating to us and to everyone in the world. We have this treasure. We hold it in jars that are made of clay to show that this all-surpassing power is from God and it is not from us. Sometimes in life, we are pressed hard on every side. Now, I'm just going to say, I think this is one of those times. Believers in God and in love and in justice and in fairness and in the importance of government and the importance of protection and safety, if you hold on to those values and you want to see those values advanced in comforting ways in the world, you are pressed on every side today. I am. We are pressed on every side, but we are not crushed. We are perplexed. I am perplexed, my friends. I am perplexed. But not in despair. We are persecuted, which means people are attacking us for what we believe, for what we hold on to, for what we described as how we see the world and our opinion and our position. We are persecuted, but we are not abandoned. We are struck down, which means we won't win every day. We are struck down, but we are not destroyed. We who are the followers of Jesus Christ carry around in our bodies the remembrance that Jesus died. He was persecuted to death. We carry around in us the death of Jesus so that the life of Jesus might be revealed in our bodies. 2 Corinthians 4, 7 to 10. In a very long and more complicated way, these are what the sentiments are which say we will make it through this time. We will. Together and apart, we will make it through this time of trouble and controversy and dividedness and chaos of our relationships, the current status of our relationships, especially with those with whom we disagree. We get perplexed. We don't always know what to do. Sometimes we lose. Sometimes we get knocked down. But always we carry around in us a perseverance that goes beyond something that makes sense. We will discover the equivalent of a new way to speak to each other. We will rise up. We will rise up in love. The relationships of God will be sustained, the ones that are true, and the ones that are full of real hope for the whole world. That's my prayer for you today, my friends. That's my prayer. And in the meantime, I keep thanking whoever invented all the pieces and parts of this technology that allow me to have a closer relationship with you. Maybe you're even a stranger to me. Maybe we have never met in person. Or maybe our relationship, like some of you I know, I haven't seen you since high school. And you're listening to me, you're getting a sense of the now 65-year-old Lou Kilgore. Thank God for the ability to nurture and strengthen relationships with each other, and hopefully through what we do here, your relationship, your sense of an awareness of God with you, God encouraging you through whatever comes, is strengthened as well. God bless you, my friends. I will talk to you tomorrow on Friday at 2 o'clock.